Hello, this is a comparison between Fedora KDE 43 and Kubuntu 25.10. They will be released at around the same time in October 2025. Let's see the differences between these. So custom wallpapers on each of them. Fedora KDE has the floating KDE Plasma main panel, which is the default upstream from the KDE project, whereas Kubuntu has the main KDE Plasma panel not floating. I actually prefer the Kubuntu version, but the upstream wants it floating by default. There's branding also for the application launcher icon. The application launcher is also floating on Fedora and not floating on Kubuntu. The right half of the screen is Kubuntu, the left half of the screen is Fedora KDE. Let's see what other differences there are. The edges are configured as per the KDE Plasma default. I don't actually want that. Let's see how we can change it. Search for edge. Right click on the left top corner, no action. And I always change the outer 15%. This way it's easier to have a window tiled to take the right half of the screen instead of taking just the top right quarter of the screen. Let's see if the help works. It does. The fonts look different. So this is gray color, whereas this is darker black color. The version of the applications is different. Fedora is more prone to deliver the latest releases of KDE software. Let's see if we can see this in the system settings, system about this system. So Qt 692, the same version. KDE Plasma 645 and KDE Frameworks 6.18 versus 6.17. Let's see if Info Center works correctly. No GPU sensors. It's a virtual machine, so that's okay. These are two virtual machines created identically, 8 vCPUs, 10 gigabytes of random access memory, and I'm connected to these virtual machines using the remote desktop protocol. The XRDP RDP server is running on both of the virtual machines, and that forces me to use the X11 session of KDE Plasma. Okay, by default we get this icon with SE Linux Troubleshooter in the system tray in Fedora KDE. Systemd SSH ISS. Let's look at the default software that's pre-installed. So we get the parts of the KDE PIM, the Personal Information Manager, installed on Fedora KDE, such as aggregator. Let's actually see if we can uninstall straight from the Start menu. Right-click on the application aggregator and uninstall. Fedora KDE requires passwords to be at least 8 characters long, whereas Kubuntu doesn't do this enforcement of password policy. Fedora KDE has less applications installed, doesn't have a offline email solution. It does have Thunderbird. Okay. Let's see how we can uninstall Thunderbird. Right-click, uninstall. Proceed in Fedora KDE to uninstall aggregator. The third time that the password is being asked for, which is an issue. I'm not sure what happened on Kubuntu, so I right-click on Thunderbird email, and when uninstall, it should either try to discover the KDE App Store, go to the page for Thunderbird Mail and start actually installing, or ask if I actually want to uninstall. Or if not, it should show an error message that Discover did not manage to find this application, or this application is a Snap application, not a Deb application, and the Snap backend is not enabled in Plasma Discover. Let's see what's actually happening. Let's go to installed. I'm not sure what that was. It showed a random list of applications. Okay, so Thunderbird is here. So I'm not sure why, if I right-click on the Thunderbird application in the KDE Plasma Start menu in Kubuntu 25.10 and go uninstall, it doesn't open Discover and navigate to the correct page. Because I can see that Discover has the Snap backend installed, enabled by default, and it knows how to display the Thunderbird Snap package page for inside Discover. Let's remove it. So there's a ton of prompts where you're being asked for your own password to elevate as administrator, which sounds like Windows Vista, where you were asked your password a million times, whereas for Windows 7 they have diminished the number of prompts radically, like maybe at least 10 times. So I feel the same thing needs to be implemented here in both Linux operating systems. If I'm asked the password once for Discover, then it should cache it and send the same password all over again for all of the other, I don't know, executables, subprocesses, package kit, snapd, whatever. Don't ask the password 10 times for the same graphical user interface application for Plasma Discover. Let's continue on installing all applications. There are games in both operating systems. K-Mahjong, K-Mines, K-Patience. Let's uninstall the mail reading applications, K-organizer, remove, proceed. We have progress. I'm not sure where more detailed progress is being shown. Let's continue uninstalling all applications. I don't see Kmail. I don't see the PIM suite. Okay, so Kubuntu contains LibreOffice by default. Fedora KDE does also contain LibreOffice by default. The icon sets are different for LibreOffice applications. I'm not sure why. Maybe LibreOffice is of a newer version and with improved icons. Let's see if that's the case. Open LibreOffice Writer. Help, about. The same version, 25.8.1.1. Okay, so I'm not sure why the icon themes for all of the applications part of LibreOffice are different in these two operating systems, Kubuntu 25.10 versus Fedora KDE 43. Next up, let's remove some of the software that I don't really actually use. So mostly just the games and LibreOffice remain. The video player is different, Dragon player versus Haruna. Not all video codecs are installed. Video playback support may be less reliable than expected. Fedora Linux support. And it takes us to where? I'm not sure where. But not to the place where I can find how to install the additional binary packages, RPM packages for Fedora KDE such that I have full H.265 support, etc. Open video, file, or network stream. Let's hope that the applications work correctly. The icon of Firefox has disappeared in the main KDE Plasma panel. So visuals on Kubuntu 25.10, I have installed code from Snap, from the Snap store. Let's actually try to do the exact same thing, which is install Snap on Fedora KDE and from the Snap store install Visual Studio Code. Let's see how that is being done. On Visuals on Google, I have searched for Snap Store code. It found the correct page, which is the Snap Store Visual Studio Code application page. There's an install button. We don't have the snap technology installed yet on Fedora, so let's see how we can install that. Sudo dnf install snapd. Ctrl+Shift+V. Okay, so there's snapd and its dependencies, libraries, GTK, glib, Qt, SE Linux, and also the backend for KDE Plasma App Store for snaps. Cool. Okay, let's read some more. We'll need to restart the system, which we'll totally do. We also want classic snap because Visual Studio Code is a classic snap. So we'll need this symbolic link. Okay, so let's do this. And reboot. Okay, so I have restarted Fedora KDE after installing snapd and after enabling support for classic confined snaps. Let's click on the install button, see what happens. View in desktop store, open link, Plasma Discover starts, asks for password, install from snap, the correct selection. The second time I input my password. Says that it's classic confinement, but again doesn't say the magic text, which is this snap application uses classic confinement. Proceed. Third time, I'm asked for my password. Okay, so it finished. I don't see the launch button. Let's, I don't know, restart, discover. Where are you? But if I restart Discover, now I have a launch button. So this looks like an issue in Plasma Discover. The fact that it doesn't show the launch button immediately after finishing installing the snap for Visual Studio Code. I'm not sure why I'm being asked for the wallet. I don't see why I would be asked for the wallet password. Maybe I'm missing something, but on Kubuntu, I don't remember ever having seen the K-wallet password dialog. I didn't configure K-wallet in any way. It should just know to use the password that I have for the current user. And don't show the welcome page. Okay, let's do the same thing. So Visual Studio Code, remember that I have opened the home directory last time on Kubuntu. Let's do the same thing on Fedora. File, open folder, home directory, okay. trust. Bash profile. Okay, everything seems to work okay. In my experience, the snap for Visual Studio Code works correctly. Okay, now let's try to install an application from FlatHub. Let's see what's available there. So let's try to install the Flatpak from the FlatHub App Store named Chromium. So this is the Chromium web browser, says by the Chromium authors, which I'm not sure what this text means. It's certainly not by Google Chromium project. This Flatpak is maintained by a different person. Let's go to links. Manifest by probably this person, Refi64. Some of the snap packages available in the canonical snap store and some of the Flatpak packages available in the FlatHub store are not provided by their upstream, unfortunately. So I know the Zoom project should have the Zoom application available in both stores and maintained by the Zoom corporation itself. Visual Studio Code should be available in both stores and maintained by Microsoft themselves. Google Chromium should be available in both stores and maintained by Google themselves. Unfortunately, these upstreams do not do either provide the application in one of the stores or in none of the stores, so the community needs to step in and actually provide the packages in these stores. Let's see how to install. Probably the Discover App Store has support for Flatpak, so that means that the Flatpak backend is installed. It is. It's not the default. And it has the remote for FlatHub enabled. And is the first in order of priorities for FlatHub remotes. So first, for Flatpak remotes, first comes FlatHub and then Fedora Flatpaks. So probably just clicking the install button will work. Okay, so says discover from FlatHub, which is correct. And install. Yeah, this is an end user hostile thing, asking the password a million times. Just install one application. The sixth time. Seventh, of course. Probably for each and every SDK, platform extension, etc. that's installed, all of the Flatpak binary packages that are being downloaded and installed on my computer, it asks the password of my user. Yeah, it's way more than 10 times. And one more time. And my password is long because it needs to be at least 8 characters long. Finally. Okay, and the application has finished installing all of its dependencies. So there's a flat pack for the application itself, but then the application might have some extensions. The application depends on some platforms, some extensions of the platform, etc. So Flatpak started as just having one platform and one application, and now there's, when you install, for instance, the Chromium Flatpak, you also install other, 10 other Flatpaks. It's going to increasingly resemble installing a Flatpak to just installing classical packages provided by your operating system. You will, at some point, we will probably end with installing 100 Flatpaks when you install one application, such as Google Chromium. Okay, so let's do the same thing for Kubuntu. Let's install from FlatHub the Google Chromium application. Let's click on the install button, see what happens. So it tries to open the Plasma Discover App Store, but the FlatHub Flatpak backend is not installed by default. Just this Snap backend. But we can install it here in KDE Plasma App Store settings and then missing backends. Let's do that. The settings page doesn't seem to refresh immediately and show that the Flatpak backend has been installed. So let's restart the Discover application. Settings. And now we have Flatpak without any remotes. I'm not sure if we should add the FlatHub remote now or when we open the Chromium page inside Discover, but let's add it now. Yeah, this text doesn't update automatically. It does now. Okay. So we have one remote, the one from FlatHub. I'm not sure if it's installed per user or per the entire computer. So let's follow the link, open link for the Flatpak plus HTTPS. Goes to the correct place, so discover App Store, install from central repository of Flatpak applications. Kind of long text and doesn't say Flatpak. Unmount, revoke, fuse, file system. Let's restart the operating system because we've installed the Plasma Discover backend for Flatpak, which probably has also installed Flatpak, the deb package for Flatpak. So that might probably require restarting the operating system. Let's restart like this. The same application, Chromium, is shown in different ways. Chromium web browser from Flatpak and just Chromium lowercase from Snap. This short lowercase name is the actual name of the snap package. That's the way you would install it via command line. You would go snap space install space lowercase chromium. But this is not a human readable string, so I'm not even sure if it should be displayed. Let's actually navigate back to the FlatHub webpage and see how to install it from there. The install button, open link, and goes to the Chromium web browser. Okay, install from FlatHub. That being said, let's try to install it from the command line. So let's see how this is done. Flatpak list, which Flatpak, I know, remote. So it's probably this part of the command line parameters for Flatpak remotes. Okay, so there's one which is FlatHub and per system. So I'm going to guess it's not installed per just my user, administrator, but for the entire system, which probably means that I need to run Flatpak with sudo first. So let's find that out. And probably asks for the sudo password if I don't provide sudo at the start of the command line. Let's see what it asks. Do I want to install Chromium? Yes. Do I want all of these dependencies? Codecs, locale, org, pre-desktop platform. Okay, let's do that. So yeah, that's what it is. It asks the password of the current user each time for each of the Flatpak packages that are being downloaded and installed. You can probably circumvent this by running sudo space flatpak space install and then the reverse DNS name of the application. So I couldn't install Flatpaks on Kubuntu because there was an issue there, a bug maybe in Plasma Discover, maybe someplace else, but just exercising the command line, at least it installed some of the dependencies. And then what? It uninstalls those. I searched on the internet and things seem to be related to fuser mount or fuser mount 3. If it's marked SUID, if it's required to to be marked SUID, and maybe just running the Flatpak install command line as super user will just magically work. So an issue in Kubuntu 25.10. Some say that it's a newer version of fuser mount of Fuse, and downgrading Fuse helps. Probably, I don't know, a regression, maybe on Ubuntu 25.04 you could install Flatpaks without being the user root from the command line. And if the command line doesn't work with this error, then you will also get it in the App Store. Okay, so we managed to install the application. Let's search for it. Installed. Okay, there's no fuzzy searching yet in Discover, which should be added. I'm not sure why it's showing the codecs. Should the App Store show just applications, or should it show something else? Launch. Okay, they look similar enough. The fonts look similar. The fact that FlatHub exists is a plus for all of the Linux operating systems that can install packages from there. So probably for all of the Linux operating systems that are AMD 64, x86 64, and use the GNU glibc and have a desktop, etc. There are other spaces where the Linux kernel is being used than these spaces. Then it's also great that exists a Snap store with some of the applications being similar, some of the applications working better if you install them from Snap, some working better if you install them from FlatHub. To each its own. Actually, some of the applications I prefer to be installed from the binary packages from my Linux operating system, but others I actually do prefer to install them from FlatHub or from the Snap Store. It's great that we have this opportunity. You shouldn't say that it's duplicated effort. It's there. It's very useful for some people. Let's look a bit at the default applications, if they look similar. And they do. So this is Dolphin, the file manager. Doesn't show the main menu by default. Has a hamburger menu. Let's enable the main menu. More, show menu bar with actions, Control M. Hamburger menu. More, show menu bar with all actions, Control M. So the experience is very similar to the vanilla, to the upstream experience from the KDE project. Let's look at console. Let's configure it to my liking. More, show menu bar with all actions, Ctrl-Shift-M. Either Ctrl-M or Ctrl-Shift-M should be used for all of the applications, probably Ctrl-Shift-M. So in Dolphin it's Ctrl-M to show the main menu. I don't actually want the toolbar. How do I hide it? Toolbars shown main and settings, toolbars shown session. The fonts are different. They're bold on Kubuntu and not bold on Fedora. Let's look at the tree of processes. Extremely similar. It's like these two operating systems, Kubuntu 25.10 and Fedora KDE 43, are relatives. There's an SDDM. One is using Wayland, the other one is using Xorg. There's a systemd per user instance with the KDE Plasma X11 session. The XDG portals, extremely similar. Okay, so PS3 is the child of the process bash. So the bash is the default terminal shell in both operating systems. The stack is extremely similar. There's a wire plumber and pipewire. This one and this one. Let's look at the start menu. Now the applications that have been just recently added are marked. So in the group internet, there's this green dot. Says that Chromium has been installed recently. Says no, new. So this is the Chromium that was installed as a Flatpak from FlatHub per system, not per user. And then somehow it managed to favorite itself on Kubuntu. So it's in the start menu, KDE Plasma start menu, in the favorites group, the Chromium web browser. Firefox had this issue where I didn't do anything to Firefox. Is the Firefox that's provided by default by Fedora KDE, probably installed from RPM packages, and it lost its icon. Let's fix the fact that kwrite is installed on Fedora and Kate is installed on Kubuntu. I actually like Kate. It's more complicated Kate, but I actually have never used kwrite. So let's uninstall it. Right click, uninstall. And remove. And that's it. And let's install Kate. How do we do that? All applications, Kate, enter. And install it from Fedora Linux. So the options are the Flatpak remotes, FlatHub, and Fedora Flatpaks, RPM packages from Fedora from the operating system, and Snap. I'm not sure how it managed to select the RPM because that's exactly what I wanted. It's marked as the default source. Maybe that's why. So back to where we were. Kate and press enter. Yeah, it should say from Fedora Linux RPMs or something. How do you tell apart Fedora Flatpaks versus Fedora Linux? It depends very much on the icon. So if you're expanding the combo box, you can actually see the icon and you're supposed to know what each icon means. Like this is the icon for FlatHub, this is the icon for Flatpaks, this is the icon for RPM, and this is the icon for snaps. And this also should say, I don't know, probably Snap Store. FlatHub Store, Snap Store, Fedora Linux RPMs, and Fedora Flatpaks. That's how I would put it in order not to depend on the icon. Or if the icon is vital, then do show the icon when the combo box is collapsed. And also Kate, just launch. Okay, let's see if Kate runs. Can we hide the welcome page? The icons look very similar. Let's maximize the application. Help, find action. So the correct icons are installed, which are the default KDE Plasma icon theme, the Breeze Icons Lite. Everything looks the way I would expect, the way the KDE Plasma upstream actually wants. Let's open the folder for the current directory, for the home directory. Open, close the welcome page, file, open folder, okay. Let's show the hidden files. How do we do that? Settings, configure Kate, plugins, file system browser, settings, Kate, plugins, file system browser. Click on the icon for the tool window, file system. And then in here we can select to view the hidden files somewhere. So these tool parallel lines options icon. And then show hidden files. And let's open Bash profile. Double click. It's interesting that .profile has opened with a different... I don't understand what's happening here. The syntax highlighter seems to be different for the tilde slash .profile file versus the tilde slash .bash underscore profile file. It says that it's the bash syntax highlighter, but then it's different. This bash RC shouldn't be red or something. Nope, that's for strings. Okay. The text for this icon in the KDE Plasma main toolbar on the bottom right, minimize all the windows and pick at desktop, is in the process of changing the text. So that's why there's different text in here. Although it's the exact same version of KDE Plasma, just the version of KDE Frameworks is different. So maybe this text comes from KDE Frameworks. Probably this one, pick at desktop, is the newer one, and the restore windows, minimize all windows is the older one. I couldn't tell. Wow, instead of expanding the directory, when I double click on the directory, it changes the view to just that directory in the tool window for file system. So KDE Framework 6.17 versus 6.18. Okay, so very promising operating systems. There was this issue where flat pack command line doesn't really work if you're not the super user, if you're not the user root, if you're not prepending the command line with sudo on Ubuntu 25.10, something related to fuser mount. But other than that, I could do remarkably many things. straight from KDE Plasma Discover the App Store without going to the command line. Of course, if you're using the command line, everything is safer. Everything is more evident. All of the errors are available there. You're not exercising another layer of complexity on top of the command line, which is the graphical user interface application. So it's always safer, simpler, whatever, faster to use the command line to install, remove packages, either from your Linux operating system or from FlatHub or from the Snap Store. But the fact that the graphical user interface application that sits on top, the App Store, the KDE Plasma Discover, works so well as it did, it's encouraging because average users will prefer not to touch the command line. Average users will also prefer not to install applications and not to change settings. So the system settings icon that's pinned to the icons only task bar, task manager, is extra for the average users, because average users would want somebody to change settings for them. They have this fear that changing settings will bork their system, installing updates will break something in the system, etc. So they should be really careful with their installation of the operating system. But still, for the more than average users that actually self-support themselves in Linux, they are not afraid they know how to reinstall the operating system, which is a huge barrier, like a huge threshold. Not many people in the world know how to reinstall their operating system, know how to enter the BIOS UEFI screen and change settings there, etc. How to write things to a USB stick and how to boot from it. But for these more than advanced, more than average Linux users, yes, they would want to be able to install and remove applications graphically from an app store. Other than that, the operating system seems to work great. The packages can be installed correctly. The packages run correctly. I didn't see any glitches, any issues, any crashes. There are those issues with SE Linux on Fedora KDE, but hopefully they're benign. I keep having this icon in the system tray. systemctl attempting to access get ATR on /. I'm not sure if SE Linux will be configured correctly in the next 10 years. At least to let systemd do its thing correctly without any warnings. The list of applications pre-installed is slim enough. It's easy to just remove the ones that you do not want. In case you do not want the PIM, the Personal Information Manager applications, it's easy to swap video players. You just right-click on the one that exists, go uninstall, and then you choose from the App Store the one that you want. I don't know, VLC or SM Player or Aruna, whatever you like. There's a graphical user interface application on top of the firewall solution on Fedora KDE, which is firewall-d. The GIMP comes pre-installed. I wouldn't do that because, again, average users don't know how to use Photoshop. I've never manipulated images in very complicated graphical user interface applications with a million tools and buttons and very stuffed main menus. So I totally would not have pre-installed the GIMP. Neither Inkscape. Very advanced programmers have never fiddled with this type of applications, such as GIMP and Inkscape. And people that actually know how to use an application similar to GIMP and Inkscape, or even Inkscape and GIMP, they're advanced enough that they can follow a YouTube tutorial where it says click here and then click here and then search for the applications that you want, such as Krita, press enter and install it from the correct source, which is Fedora Linux. So it's a 10-step procedure that's easy to follow by people that actually know how to use a complex productivity application. Chat also comes pre-installed on both operating systems. For Matrix, so Matrix is the protocol that is kind of replacing IRC. Most of the discussions surrounding the contributors to the KDE project, to the Fedora project, nowadays happen on Matrix and might also happen on IRC, but not most of the volume is going to be on Matrix, not on IRC, in my experience. So, solid Linux operating systems. I'm not going to say which one is my favorite, but if you actually want to pick one that's better suited for you, I would use one Linux operating system that has a new release from the last months, not from many years ago. And then I would use one of the Linux operating systems from the major families of Linux operating systems. So there's the family Fedora Red Hat Enterprise Linux. In there, I would recommend the latest and greatest Fedora KDE. There's the family Debian Ubuntu. In there, I would recommend the latest and greatest Kubuntu, in this case 25.10. Then there's the family OpenSUSE SUSE. In there, I would probably, recommend OpenSUSE Tumbleweed. But I'm not sure what you would do with updates, because you will get updates extremely fast, extremely often, and if you're a average user, you're not actually installing updates for fear of breaking your system. So I don't know what the solution is there. So maybe OpenSUSE SUSE family is not for the average users. And then the Arch family, that's totally not for the average user. If you're using it in a mutable way, so if you're using the Steam Deck, where the Steam company actually makes sure that the operating system is always reliable and always works and uses AB partitioning and immutable base, etc., etc. So an operating system that's delivered in a way extremely similar to an Android phone or an iOS phone, then that's a different story that makes the entire operating system suitable for an average user. So this is it. This is the comparison between the recent Linux operating systems, Fedora KDE 43 and Kubuntu 25.10. Thank you.